Hello, guys, and welcome. Czar here, and today we have a very alarming topic to discuss, which are Nintendo's new patents and what they mean not only for monster collecting games, but for the gaming industry as a whole. If you don't know, last week Nintendo got two new patents approved, which all stem from the Palworld lawsuit that started in September last year. Nintendo is already well known for their strict copyright regulations, from striking creators that make modded content on their videos, hunting down ROM providing websites, and now fighting companies for making games with similarities to their IPs. Palworld was a huge success with a whopping 2.1 million concurrent players on Steam, and also a couple more that also played through the Xbox Game Pass because it was free, and also sparking the discussion that Pokemon was maybe underutilizing their IP, and that also fans were itching for a different kind of experience in the monster collecting genre. And now we enter a whole new chapter. Nintendo's new strategy behind the lawsuit against Palworld revolves around patenting in-game mechanics, with an even more underhanded tactic of shaping their claims mid-fight through filing for new patents while the lawsuit follows, and changing them to better represent what they want through continuation, which I'm gonna clarify later. And just to better clarify, the lawsuit happened in Japan for patent infringement of gameplay systems. And while that case has been rolling, something big just happened in the US, in America, with the USPTO, that's the United States Patent and Trademark Office, which approved two Nintendo new patents tied to core gameplay loops. Also, to just reinforce, the Japan lawsuit enforces Japanese patents, and these new US patents matter because they can affect US platform stores and ports, and that's just an extra leverage that Nintendo has against not only Palworld, but also against different platforms and different games. One was issued in the September 2nd that covers summoning a character to fight another character, and another was issued on September 9th. That one covers smoothly switching between rideable mounts. Palworld already had to make changes to gameplay due to the lawsuit, first removing the ball throwing mechanic to summon your characters or your pals, and second was the pole-based gliding, with players now using a glider item instead of riding their pals, while pals give buffs to gliding. And now they have to further walk on eggshells with switching between flying and ground riding mounts to avoid yet another patent claim. Nintendo is being very cheeky, using some very unusual phrasing with neutral terms like sub-character, second operation input, first mode, second mode, just to avoid saying stuff like Pokeball, Pokemon in their claim structure. And it's also very good to point out that Nintendo is trying to expedite these patents to something called Track 1, which you're gonna be able to read more about in this link right here. And they also are filing for continuation, which essentially is just a way to keep refining and changing their claims as the lawsuit follows. Most of these practices are common but very aggressive strategies in litigation, but the problem is that they're very broad. Many attorneys and lawyers have already stated this was overbroad and very lightly examined by the USPTO. Like patent lawyer Kirk Sigmund just said a couple days ago, broadly, I don't disagree with the many online complaints about these Nintendo patents. They have been an embarrassing failure of the US patent system. And even the former Pokemon Company chief legal officer Don McGowan had his piece to give as well. I wish Nintendo and Pokemon good luck when the first other developer just entirely ignores this patent, and if these companies sue the developer just shows decades of prior art. In this case, he mentions that the developer is gonna show a lot of backlog of stuff that they have been working on, but at the same time, this is just such a broad patent and so restrictive to so many different mechanics that it's hard to see this being actually enforced in so many different games, and it's gonna be hard to see Nintendo just outright fighting all these developers. But hey, they are big and they have the money for it, they have the legal team, so who says they won't? I know a lot of this feels like technical talk, but all of this has a massive impact on how not only big corporations deal with making games, but it also limits smaller developers on making their own games too. Nintendo is a giant that has been very established through the last 40, 50 years, and just the fear of having to deal with a legal battle that most small studios wouldn't have the money or the legal team to face litigation is already enough to scare them away. And it also opens the path for these giants to just start patenting game mechanics, just like it happened before, for example, with the Nemesis system back in Shadows of Mordor 2021. You know, like Warner Bros. Decided that they would patent the complete system so no other games could even try to use something that was actually a pretty rich system and a fun way to engage with the game. Or even the Bandai Namco loading screen mini games that we used to have, for example, in a Dragon Ball games. I remember playing those in Budokai Tenkaichi, I think 3, and they just completely patented it back in the day. But just for example, it expired back in 2015, and other games started using these kinds of mechanics, just having these small things to do while you were in your loading screen, right? And now can you imagine if, for example, EA starts to patent the operation input to pass an object to another first operator character, or just simply put, just passing a ball in a FIFA game? I'm not the biggest FIFA fan, but the game is huge. And there are also other games that stem from FIFA, similar games. You have for right now, we have Rematch and other, or let's say even Rocket League or something like that. Or even Ubisoft decides that they want to try and patent the climbing mechanics, the parkour mechanics in an Assassin's Creed game. That's in a bunch of different games. And if... I know this sounds completely insane, but if Nintendo manages to just patent the fact that you switch between a flying mount and a ground mount, what says the other can't? And it's not like you don't have mounts in a bunch of other games, right? So it's already very alarming to think about it. And if every AAA company that feels threatened by a new game from a smaller developer that gets some success decides that they will start a legal battle to limit what they can do in their games, it just starts to set a precedent for a monopoly of games, right? Even more when they can just keep refining those patents to worsen the situation for everyone out there and just make it even more restrictive for developers to think about how they want to develop the games and have to keep checking what kind of mechanics they can or cannot include in the game because these big corporations decided that they just want to outright patent it, right? The whole situation is very dire and just make for a very hostile environment for all game developers, not only small, medium-sized, even big, even more when we think that indie games nowadays are the ones bringing a lot of innovations to a lot of different gaming genres. And it's even funnier to think that Nintendo now has their own copy of Palworld with Palland. Like even the name, it's outrageously just a copycat out of it, right? And the game is just really bad, but we don't see Nintendo doing anything about it, right? They just put it on their own shop for people to buy it. And Nintendo decided to not really open a legal battle against them. It just goes to show that they're being very scummy just from the fact that someone did a creature collector with a big hit, with a big success like Palworld, and just started opening questions about how the Pokemon Company was handling their own IP. Hopefully, other companies see the backlash that these legal battle and these whole patent shenanigans is having on the community in general, the gaming community, and they just don't try to follow on the same footsteps. Because right now, it doesn't seem like Nintendo really cares much about what people have been saying about this whole situation, and they only care about protecting their own asses, while still predating on other games and developers, while still trying to just outright push slop in our faces. Let's face it, let's be honest, it's not like Pokemon has had a lot of innovation, a lot of different changes. We just have been replaying the same game with the same mechanics for the last, well, I don't want to say 30 years, but yeah, it's the same battling mechanics. You just grab a Pokemon, you fight your gyms, you fight the Elite 7, and you're done with the game. Like, sometimes it has a bit of difference in the story and different characters, but at the end of the day, it's the same game. And it's not like ZA, it's exactly a breath of fresh air. Looks wise, the game is not exactly the most beautiful Pokemon game ever, even more compared to the standards that we have for gaming in 2025. And well, at least they brought the new battling mechanics, but it's not like, oh my god, this is exactly what we were looking for, exactly what we wanted from a Pokemon game. It's just another Pokemon game. I just wanted to cover some of the details of what's been happening. If you want to further understand what's been going on, you can always leave a comment down below. I would be happy to answer any questions that everyone has. There's also a lot of talk on Reddit, Discord, and different communities about this whole situation, but we just really don't want to see this happening to other games, or give hope that for other companies that they can just outright patent their own mechanics. At the end of the day, this just shows these other companies that they can do this. This is a possibility to just try to protect their game mechanics and just push away other developers of trying to do something that's vaguely similar or whatever. So it's just a shame to see this happening. Nintendo even though I do enjoy a lot of Nintendo games, it's a shame to see them not being the example they used to be for a lot of developers and for gaming standards in general, and just trying to fight for the protection of their own IPs, right? Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. Also, leave a comment down below so we can discuss the situation a little bit further, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Czar out.